Okay,
I-
so
And Bob, I'm here for Nick. It's Moses here. So
okay,
Oh, okay.
Bob,
Yeah, I saw you come on, Moses. Thank you.
appreciate it. Yep.
Bob, I'm going to transfer the host privileges to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, can we just do a roll call to make sure there is a quorum? I'm not.
Oh, yeah,
even
no, I was
sure
planning
what
to do that,
quorum is.
Rosemary.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. Mhm.
All right, everybody, I'll see you later. Feel free to call the board office with any questions.
All right, thanks a lot, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
All right, so once again, as mentioned, for those of you who just joined, Laura Spalter is at the Borough President's State of the Borough message tonight over at Lehman College, so I will be chairing the Executive Committee meeting. All right, so I'm going to go down the roster to confirm that we have a quorum right now. So Laura Spalter is not here. Bob Bender is here. Rob Jaklowski is not here. Scott Krumpinger is not here. Rosemary Ginty.
Well, I at the moment, I may go off and go to the, okay, anyway, at the moment I'm here. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Lisa Dow,
Here.
David Gelman. David appears not to be here. Nick Fazio, Moses, you're here in place of Nick?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Sylvia Alexander? I don't see Sylvia. Camelia Tepelis?
Present.
Thank you. Omar Murray? Omar, you're muted, but I
Yes,
see
I'm
you.
here. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Lee Chang? I don't see Lee. Chuck Merdler? I don't see Chuck. Marty Walpoff?
Here.
Thank you, Marty. Deborah Travis?
Present.
Ed Green?
Present.
Kelly Buford?
I'm here, Bob, but I will need to drop at some point for a few minutes, but I will rejoin by cell phone.
Okay, all right. You have a resolution on tonight.
I have 2 resolutions on tonight.
Two. Okay, so you'll come back to us.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Julia Gomez?
Here.
Thank you, Julia. Margaret Della? I don't see Margaret. And Sergio Villaverde? I don't see Sergio. So we have 11 present, and that is our quorum. All right, so since we have a quorum at the moment, let's take our first item on the agenda, which is the approval of the Executive Committee minutes from the February 1st meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Bob, excuse me, I do have some comments, please.
Okay, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I knew that Laura, I emailed to Laura and Bob Jaklowski, since he took the minutes, and Chuck Mordler. There's 2 observations. Let me actually read you from my email so that I'm sure I exactly convey what I wanted to convey.
Well, could you tell us where in the minutes this is that you're concerned about?
Suggestion number 1, please insert page numbers. Suggestion number, so 2 edits I have as observations, suggestions for edits. For sentence in Kira's piece, I think it's page 2, where there is a sentence called CB8 is the gold star, whatever. I suggest that be removed, since it's kind of marking a self-congratulatory and possibly questionable statement about ourselves. I don't think it adds value as far as substance, so I suggest that be removed. And the second, and a little bit more sensitive, I have a statement quoted in the minutes regarding the Riverdale press article informing of financing for Tishman. There's a number there, but then there is another sentence stating Charles Morler will oppose. So I'm suggesting for that to also be removed, firstly, because it's not clear what it refers to, and secondly,
Okay,
another more
Camelia,
recent- yeah.
let me just interrupt you for a second. I got the first one. Where's the second one in the minutes?
Sorry?
Where in the minutes is the second one that
The
you're
second one
concerned
is
about?
toward the, again, I believe it's page 3, says something, Camelia Tembelu says something about Riverdale Press. So where it ends, Charles Morler will oppose, I suggest for that to also be removed, again, because first it's not clear, and secondly, another Riverdale Press article more recent after those minutes shows a different course of events with Riverdale Press questioning conflict interest, and I copied Chair Morler in my communication to alert in advance, but also since the sentence refers to him, of course, it's for him appropriate to make the call whether to keep it or leave it, but I kind of want it flagged because I think, personally, I think this should be removed. But again, I just wanted to make these 2 observations plus page numbers. Thank you.
I have no problem with the first one, Camelia, about CB8 being the gold star of Bronx boards. That's an
You mean
opinion.
removal or you want to leave it?
That can be removed. I don't,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
does anybody else have an opinion on that particular item? Okay, so I'm fine with removing that one.
Okay.
The second one I have more of a problem with. I mean, this is a statement of fact, which either is or isn't correct.
Correct.
Chuck Merdler will oppose.
Yes.
It either it was stated or it wasn't. I mean, we would have to go back to the recording to know.
Yeah, I believe it was, but I also believe that other facts came. I mean, came to light since, so that's why I just wanted to flag it. I'm not saying nothing as the fact of my opinion, but I personally believe that it's, yeah, I would remove it if it
Well,
was
you're raising a different
Thank you.
question. The
Correct, I
question here is whether the minutes accurately record what was said. And if the minutes do actually record what was said, then I don't see why we should be changing them. So I don't agree with that one. And again, if do any of the other members of the committee have an opinion on this?
Committee, no.
I'm sorry, say that again, Rosemary?
Oh, I'm sorry, it just, you said it exactly correctly, Bob. Does this reflect what was said? That's the only issue, okay?
Mhm,
So we
right.
have words on paper, Camelia says, I don't think so, and you say it has to reflect what was said. That's the issue, is this what was said?
Right.
That's what it boils down to. If
Right.
this is what was said, then these are the minutes. If this does not correctly reflect what was said, then it should change. Bob, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. That's the important,
Right.
that's the important thing. Okay.
So Camelia, from if I understand you correctly, you're not disputing whether the statement was made.
No,
It's
I'm
just you
not.
have. Okay,
Yeah, no,
well then,
I just
Okay,
wanted
no,
to
I
flag it
understand
for
you have other
appropriateness,
concerns.
but no, I'm
Right.
not disputing. I believe that Bob Jaklowski actually listened to the recording, indeed.
okay. So under the circumstances, then it should remain as is. Right.
Exactly. There you
So
go.
are there any other questions about the minutes? All right, I see no hands. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Motion with the first, correct.
The
Thank
noted
you. Yeah, with,
correction.
as amended, removing the statement about CB8 being the gold star of Bronx Community Boards. That happens to be my opinion too, but it's an opinion. So we'll take that out. That's fine. Is there anybody objecting to approving the minutes with that sentence removed? Is there anybody abstaining? All right, so the minutes are approved unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so moving on through the agenda. Chairperson's report. Laura says there is no chairperson's report. Treasurer's report. I understand from Scott that there were some problems with OMB being behind schedule. Oh, Rosemary, sorry, I see your hand is raised. You're muted, Rosemary.
I was actually behaving when I muted myself. Just so there's no chair's report. So can I just put a question into the body politic here? I'm so curious, and I think other people in the community, what is happening with the homeless shelter on Broadway? Is there any news about that? Again, I know, Bob, you can't, and she's not here, but if she were here, I would ask that in her report. What is the latest news on that? So if we could just put that in a question and maybe it gets responded to at the full board meeting, okay?
Mhm. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
What I can tell you is that I'm not aware of anything,
No.
for what that's worth. And generally, Laura does keep me informed, certainly about issues like that.
Mhm.
So I'm not aware of any news, but I'll make a note that you would like to bring it up at the board meeting or have it addressed at the board meeting.
Well, it's not just me personally. I think it's been a long time. The community has not heard anything about this issue. And maybe
No, I
there's
understand.
nothing to report, but maybe that is the report. We have nothing to report, but at least.
No,
there's
when I
something to
say you, Rosemary, all I'm
Mhm.
saying is you brought the issue up, but yes, no,
Okay.
I agree.
Good.
Let's get an update on it. Sure.
Thank you, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. The treasurer's report, I understand from Scott, who couldn't be here tonight, that there was some problem at OMB, and I'm not entirely clear on what it was. They had some project they were working on, and they're behind on community board requisitions and that sort of thing. And the person in the borough president's office who handles this was on vacation. So long story short, there is no update to the treasurer's report for tonight, but Scott says that there will be a treasurer's report at the board meeting on the 14th. So we will see a treasurer's report prior to the board meeting, and he will address it at the board meeting. All right? Okay, moving on. District manager's report. As you are aware, we don't have a district manager at the moment. Ergo, we don't have a district manager's report. We do have, as I'm sure everyone is aware, a district manager search committee. And you will see on the March calendar that went out that the search committee has already scheduled a couple of meetings, and there will be more on this subject as we go forward, but there is no report. So we move on to committee resolutions. Rosemary, okay, sorry, see your hand again. And you have to unmute again. You're a good citizen.
I've been too good a girl to mute myself, so sorry, I have to unmute myself. In one of the last reports, it was stated that the search would be in a whole host of venues, and and I think it was newspapers and media and blah blah blah. In one comment we got back was it gave a description of what was in the city thing and city and state, but not what was advertised in all the other newspapers, et cetera, et cetera. So my question is, the attempt or the statement that this job will be advertised in easily 5 or 6 venues, has that been done? Has that been accomplished?
To the best of my knowledge, Rosemary, it was widely advertised. I did see an email to that effect. I don't have the email in front of me, and I don't have the list in front of me. But I was told that it went to a number of different venues. We can certainly get that information and send it out to make sure that everybody knows where the position was advertised.
Bob, that would be very helpful. Again, it was stated it would be in a half a dozen or more places, And we did get, and I'm grateful that we got the wording that was given in the city and state, but no wording in all the rest. So I think that would be good to be, again, the request and the question about where this would be advertised. I don't want to, no, okay, let me see if I can put this one. It has not been specific enough to answer the question, where has this been advertised?
Okay,
Did I
well,
say that right? Did I say
Yeah,
that
no,
okay?
that's
Okay.
a perfectly
okay.
reasonable
Thank you.
question, and
Thank you.
there's an answer for it, and we'll get it and make sure
Thank
that
you.
everybody on the board is aware of it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. So we're ready for committee resolutions.
Some resolutions.
Yeah, and Deb, thank you very much for the screen sharing.
Can you see the resolutions?
Yeah, we're also seeing your
Hey,
email
Deb,
inbox.
Oh, I see. Wait a second. Let me fix that. See if this works. How about that?
okay, there you go.
Okay. Well, as it happens, Deb, the first committee resolution that's up is the Parks Committee resolution.
Wait a second. It's not the right thing either. Let me find the.
Well, look, we can go in any order. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
Well, yeah, but after we do that one, you're not going to be able to do any of the others because that's my document, not
Oh, okay.
the right one. So let me just fix this again. It didn't come up. I might need to close some windows. Preview amended packet. There we go. See if this is right. How about that?
Perfect.
Okay, public safety.
Hey, Deb, could you do me a favor? So Public Safety Committee we have 5 resolutions. 4 of them are together and 1 is separate. I'd like to just go through the 4 together first because it's going to be hopefully just a quick buzz and get it out of the way. Because the one standing by itself is going to require a little bit of discussion, I believe.
Okay, well, here you go. I think these are the ones you mean that are together.
Right. Okay. So I'll just give everybody the lay of the land real quick. So in my 3 years as public safety chair, I've never not had a quorum at my meeting. Our meeting did not have a quorum. So this is not an official resolution, but what I put in the resolution, there's 3 renewals and 1 new application, and the be it resolved. Well, not the be it resolved. The last whereas clause of all of them basically state that the Public Safety Committee, lacking the required amount of committee members for a quorum, unanimously recommend this application to be brought to a vote by the full board and subsequently approved. So if as far as I can tell, that's the right way to go about this. But if anyone with more experience with me has any ideas, fine. But just to get down to what they are. So the first renewal is Great Performance Artists, Performance/Artists as Waitresses Inc., which is at Wave Hill. They're renewing their full liquor license, no issues from the 50th, and we unofficially approved it because we lacked the quorum. The second is on Beelbach at 445 West 238th Street, and again, no problems with the 50th, and we approved it without having the official vote count there. The third one would be New Tokyo House, which is at 5648 Riverdale Avenue. Again, the 50th had no issues there, and we approved it unanimously with the lack of quorum that we did have. And the last one was a new application for Mamawana Cafe, which is at 3541 Riverdale Avenue, and 2 a.m. agreement was signed by the establishment's owner and received by the board. That business was there initially, so I was a little confused about why they were applying as a new application, but they have a new owner, and I did speak with SLA, and there's no, I thought it should be a corporate change, but according to SLA, there is no, everything is in proper order. So if it's good enough for SLA, it's good enough for me. They say they're doing everything right this way. So that was the 4 that I'm gonna bring to the board for a vote, since we did not have an official vote at our committee. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that procedurally, if anything is procedurally incorrect or what.
Julia, I see that your hand is up.
Thank you. I guess I just have a question. So these aren't actually I don't think they can be considered resolutions because you didn't have quorum to vote on them. So are these the resolutions you are going to bring from the floor next Wednesday? That's how that works?
Correct.
So like, we can't really, I don't know if the vote should be in there because you didn't have a quorum. So I don't think it matters who voted for it. Like you shouldn't have voted, I don't think, without a quorum. You can say in discussion, but having a vote count seems a little counterintuitive since there weren't enough votes to leave committee, so to speak. Does that make sense?
You kind of, I didn't hear you for a second. It got a little blurry at that last minute, Julia.
Sorry, just that I think the vote counts should be taken out because you didn't have enough people to vote to move it out of committee. So I think that I would suggest that those approved in favor, what have you, be removed because they don't affect. You're going to be bringing these from the floor. They're not brought because it was passed through your committee.
I would have no problem with that. What does anybody else think about that? That seems reasonable to me.
Rosemary, I see your hand is up. And you are muted.
Okay, again, I was being a good girl. There is no way in God's green earth these resolutions can be brought to the board. There was no quorum, there was no ability and no jurisdiction whatsoever for this committee to vote on these issues. They could have heard them, they could ask questions, they can report on what they heard back, but there's no jurisdiction whatsoever to vote on these, to bring them to the board. Now, there may be ways to bring an issue to the board that is, and I'll leave it to Marty Wolpoff to tell you how to do it, but there is no way that these resolutions can be brought to the board as any official action of this committee. There was no quorum, no jurisdiction. We have in the past when I'm trying to think back of issues where a committee was not able to act, maybe it was timing, maybe it was anything, but they had an issue and they brought an issue to the board. The board can act. The board has the authority to act, but they have to act de novo. They have to have the issues brought to them to be able to ask questions. They have to, it's a de novo action of the board to be able to act without a committee resolution, okay? These resolutions cannot come to the board. They have no jurisdiction whatsoever. Sorry, Marty, your turn.
Bob, can I respond to that, please?
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Okay, so Rosemary, we did not vote on it. So it says in the third whereas clause
Okay.
that the Public Safety Committee, lacking the required amount of committee members for a quorum, unanimously recommend this application be brought to a vote by the full board and subsequently approved. So we did not vote on it. We just got consensus that we are agreeing that these are passable applications, and we'll let the board decide that when we bring it to the floor there.
All right, I understand what you're trying to do, Ed, but since Rosemary referred to Marty and Marty's hand is raised, let's let Marty speak.
The resolutions that you're bringing forth, if they came from a committee, does not require a second. These did not come from the committee. They're recommended by those who attended. You at the board meeting can propose these resolutions, ask for a second. They can be debated, discussed. The people who voted here or expressed their interest here is informative. It does not lend, it is not an official recommendation from the committee. So again, at the board meeting, you will make these offerings. You will ask for a second discussion. You can indicate X number of people who were present supported it, but it's not official and it was seconded. And then the discussion goes on.
So Marty, I just want to be sure that I'm clear on this. I think the real problem here is the formatting of what Ed has turned in, which makes it look like the committee took a vote and
Right.
approved. And I believe that Ed can bring these resolutions, as you said, to the board on the 14th. I think if the therefore be it resolved clause and what follows were just deleted, then these resolutions could be sent out before the board meeting as resolutions to be discussed at the board meeting, assuming that, there is a second, that they're introduced from the floor and there is a second, which I presume there would be. Is that correct, Marty?
That's fine, yes.
Okay, Ed, does that clarify the situation?
Not 100%, because let me ask you then,
Oh.
so you're saying therefore be it resolved needs to be removed? How is that? What Julia mentioned earlier about
Oh.
removing the approve in favor 3 is, to me, that basically solves the problem. But how do you have a resolution brought if it doesn't have a be it resolved in it?
Well,
Be it
go ahead,
resolved
Marty.
stays, don't say approved, recommended by. And drop the abstentions and
Okay.
it's not an official vote.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Rosemary, let me call on Moses since you've already
Sure,
spoken, okay?
Sure,
Go ahead,
sure.
Moses.
So no worries. I think it might have just been handled by the last comment. I think I was just going to note that it seems to make sense that if you remove the approved, oppose, it solves it. And also, I think you just said that you can shift the be it resolved. But since the be it resolved says the community board approves, it seems like it should be fine then, right? For what? Because it's about it's being brought to the floor, and that's ultimately what would be, if we approve it on the board meeting, that's what would be approving, that the community board is saying we're okay with this resolution, not the committee, but the community board. So do we need to remove that language that's there if it's just not referring to the committee being approving it?
I think all the, as I said, I think all the language from therefore be it approved down has to be taken out. And it has to be a recommendation from the committee. Rosemary, let me give you one more opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm going to be, I'm going to be very, very succinct in what I'm saying. This is wrong. The committee has there was no quorum, and therefore they have no ability to act at all in any way, shape, or form or language. Okay, if the committee were to say and come to the board, we held a public safety committee. We had 2 applications, and we did not have a quorum. These people came in front of us, and those people should, by the way, be in front of the community board so the community board could ask questions, because this is a de novo decision from the beginning. And the people who came to speak on behalf should be there. And we did not have a quorum. And but we did ask questions. They did come, they did attend, but we didn't have a quorum, and we were not able to act. We are bringing the issue to the board to decide. This committee has no ability whatsoever to make a decision on these issues because there was no quorum. I don't understand why. Okay, it's not possible to bring any resolution from this committee to the board. The only thing one can do is to go in front of the board and say, I didn't have a quorum. This issue came. Let me present this issue to the board. And here is the person who can answer questions about it, and the board makes the decision. This is, I want to tell you, this is the biggest mistake this board is making to assume that one can take language from a committee that didn't have a quorum to bring to the board to just adopt. No, cannot be.
Rosemary, let me ask you a
Sorry.
question, if I may. As you know, we're obligated to make public issues that are going to be discussed at the board meeting in advance of the board meeting.
Mhm.
So is it not possible to provide in advance of the meeting the language that the Public Safety Committee chair wants to discuss, wants to introduce and discuss at the board meeting, using this format, but without the be it resolved? Or, if the formatting is really the key issue here, simply to state the issue as it's stated in these resolutions, that the Public Safety Committee ordinarily considers renewals and new applications for liquor licenses. And these 4 institutions are hoping to have get their liquor licenses either renewed or approved, and this will be discussed at the board meeting. In other words, to essentially bring these resolutions, but without the be it resolved, without the votes, which, as we all agree, were improper in the sense that it was not quorum. Can we not bring this provide this information in advance of the meeting?
Can I just speak? I can't raise my hand, so I just want to say
Sure.
one thing.
Oh, Deb, I'm
before-
sorry, I didn't even see it.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I think maybe the confusion is that that the therefore be it resolved, like, we should really treat these as if Ed bringing them from the floor, that they're not from the committee, that the whereases and stuff are fine as long as it's not a committee resolution and there was no committee vote. So the approved in
Mhm.
favor, the opposed, the abstained, that's misleading because there was no vote. The therefore be it resolved, community board 8 approves, that's the language we normally change to, so that it can be considered by the full board and approved or not. So that determines what the resolution is that Ed's bringing from the table or bringing from the floor. And that the whereas where it says the Public Safety Commission or committee didn't have the required quorum, just provides a little context of why why this isn't what we would think of as a normal resolution where it's approved by the committee and then we change the therefore be it resolved to be the board and then we vote on it again. So I feel like from my point of view, like if we simply removed all of the approved, opposed, abstain, because that's not relevant here, then Ed could bring it from the floor, but it's not coming from the committee, that would solve what Marty was describing. And I think that kind of solves what you were describing, Bob, like that you can't say therefore be it resolved the Public Safety Committee of Bronx Community Board 8 approves this application, because that's absolutely not true.
Mhm.
But the resolution itself has to have a be it resolved for the board when the board considers it, and that would be Bronx Community Board 8 approves this application.
So I see there are hands up from people who've spoken. Marty, let me ask you one more time. Does what Deb just described, does that sound like a proper solution to the issue for you?
It's what I think I said before. This is not coming from the committee. It requires, in order to be on the agenda, it requires a second. It will get the second, but presumably because these people supported it, who
Right.
are on the committee. And then if there's discussion is appropriate.
Mhm.
And then we vote on it. But going back to your question, I think it should be announced that not from the committee, it will come from the chair of the committee, that the following resolution is being presented based upon presentations made by the individuals who have these establishments.
Okay, thank you, Marty. So I think I understand that not everybody may agree, but I think the thing to do here is to address the concerns at the board meeting. If somebody feels this is not proper, let's have that discussion at the board meeting. But I think for tonight, since we're not going to vote on this in any case, let's agree that what we're going to do is exactly as Marty described. The issue will be brought before the board at the board meeting as a resolution from the floor that will have to be seconded, but we will provide the information that is in these resolutions in the packet that goes out prior to the board meeting. And any discussion that needs to be had at that point can be had at the board meeting. All right,
Well,
so I would like to move on.
I'm sorry, that is very bad advice for Ed. You're giving Ed advice to do something that I believe is inappropriate. If one decides it's appropriate, fine, but this is not appropriate. He is not allowed to bring a resolution to the board. Do you understand the wording that has been used here? Marty says, just bring the resolution, and there is no resolution to bring. You're not giving guidance to Ed at all. It's not, this is, well, good, fine. This is not going to be a good board meeting if this is not presented. Isn't this what executives are supposed to be? Frame the issue so that the board meeting goes simply, that the board meeting goes well. Okay, now if I'm the only one who feels this way, that's fine, then go ahead, then that's fine. But I want to tell you, I do not hear that. I do not hear this from the executive committee that they believe this is the appropriate way to go forward. I'm not sure they fully understand what is being presented. Do not mess up the board meeting. This is, the executive committee is the place to settle this issue. And believe me, I'm perfectly fine. If I stand alone, I'll shut up, okay? But
Thank you, Rosemary.
Okay.
Thank
Sorry.
you. I think we've aired this issue sufficiently. I think we've heard
Okay.
a number of opinions. I understand.
Oh, have we?
We don't have agreement, and I didn't expect we would have agreement. I think I rely very heavily on Marty's opinion as the parliamentarian,
There you
and I
go.
think we're prepared to proceed. So we will continue the discussion at the board meeting. Ed,
Good.
I know that you have one other resolution,
Yeah,
correct?
I thought that was going to be the quick, less non-controversial one.
One never knows.
Okay, so again, I'm just gonna read this. So, I mean, I can give a backstory to try to explain context, but it again, whether this is proper form or whatever, it tells a story, and I'm gonna read it from top to bottom. So, whereas the New York State liquor license of P&K's Grill located at 170-174 West 231st Street expired on 2/28/23. Whereas Seth Kaplan, owner of P&K's Grill Inc., states he had not received the SLA advisory notice for his renewal. Whereas a representative of the State Liquor Authority stated the agency would grant Bronx Public, which is P&K's Grill Inc., an extension before their application was reviewed on the condition that Bronx Community Board 8 issue the establishment a waiver of the 30-day notice. Whereas Seth Kaplan of P&K's Grill Inc. has requested a waiver of the 30-day notice to appear before this Public Safety Committee so he can file a renewal application for a liquor, wine, beer, and cider license with SLA. Whereas representatives of the 50th Precinct stated there have been no notable complaints or reports of disturbances at P&K's Grill Inc. Whereas Seth Kaplan has agreed to attend the March 21st Public Safety Committee meeting to have his SLA application reviewed. Therefore, be it resolved that Bronx Community Board 8 Executive Committee waives the 30-day notification requirement, and the board is in no objection to the renewal of the license for P&K's Grill. So to put it in layman's terms, I guess, the SLA, there was a mix-up as far as SLA. They never received the application from SLA, and I spoke to SLA. I spoke to Mike from SLA, and he says that, you know, it's possible that they messed up it's very unclear why they did not get this, but SLA is, you know, not putting it on them their license is going to expire. They've been a stellar business in our neighborhood, and they're going to be facing possible layoffs and you know, losing money of not having the liquor license. And you know, I don't know if, you know, I was hoping Nick Fazio was here to speak on this also, but I know Moses came in his stead. So I don't know if Moses has anything to say on this issue.
I do, and I did speak with Nick before, and generally, obviously, I guess maybe not obviously, but I would be supportive of this effort. But from a economic development committee, for us, we think it's really important that if there's not an issue that we're seeing with a business, that we do all we can to support our local businesses being able to continue and thrive. And this is one of those examples where we feel like the error was much more on SLA side, and we feel that we should do all we can at the board to make sure we help them so that the business isn't unduly punished because of that error. And so this one falls very clearly in that category. And I don't know if, as the discussion goes, whether it'll have to fall in the same dynamic as the other recommendations, or this can be handled specifically in the exec. But either way, we believe that it should be, we should do all we can as a board to make sure we help facilitate this process and help our local businesses in this regard.
And Bob, I'd like to also say, though, I know it's not procedurally correct for anybody outside of the executive committee to speak. Seth is here at this meeting because he's very concerned about his business, and he's been doing everything he can to try to rectify the situation.
Well, Ed, I mean, I appreciate the fact you and I both know that at the executive committee meeting, we don't have members of the public speak. But I appreciate the fact that he's here to hear this discussion. I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, I mean, the issue of, who screwed up here really doesn't matter at this point. We are where we are. But does the SLA understand that if you vote on this at the Public Safety Committee meeting on March 21st, the board will not yet have voted on it by the end of the month of March? This will come up for a vote at the April board meeting. So is the SLA aware that while the committee might approve it, that doesn't mean that the board has approved it? I mean, frankly, I can't think of an objection the board may have, but as I said earlier, one never knows. But I just want to be sure that the SLA understands what they've agreed to here.
I'm pretty sure they do. I mean, I've spoken to Mike, and also our staff at the board has spoken to Mike at length. And as far as I can tell, yes.
So they'd be satisfied with the vote at the committee meeting.
Well, they're willing to. They're saying they're willing to give them the extension if we waive the 30-day notice requirement. That's coming from the horse's mouth.
Okay. Now, I'm in a bit of a quandary here because we don't ordinarily vote on a resolution at the executive committee meeting. But if the condition from the SLA is that the executive committee votes on this, and agrees that we should give them the opportunity to come before the Public Safety Committee meeting on the 21st and make their case and let the Public Safety Committee vote on it at that point. If that's the condition that's been set, I certainly don't want to be in the position of not approving this and putting this institution, putting the grill in the position where they might lose their liquor license. But I would like to get some other opinions on that before rendering any judgment. Just one more question though, before I do. I'm unclear on in the third whereas clause, Bronx Public, what is Bronx Public in relation to P&K?
It's the same. That was something written in a previous, and when they changed it, they didn't take that out and put P&Ks in there. It should read P&Ks grill.
All right. So can we agree then that that whereas clause will be altered to read? Okay, fine. All right. I see Julia's hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think it's very telling, if I understood Ed correctly, that SLA isn't saying, oh no, we absolutely did give notice and he should have known. They're like, well, maybe. I think that is as close as we're going to get to an admission of they probably didn't. And I think that should be heavily considered, because I don't know that they would ever say, oh no, we absolutely did not, sorry. But the fact that they didn't emphatically say we absolutely did indicates that they dropped the ball.
Hey, Julia, I'll do better than that. I'll tell you exactly what the quote was. It was something to the effect of, oh, well, sometimes a letter gets mistyped when we send out the thing. And so, yeah, like you said, that's about as close to an admission as you'll get.
Oh, did we not send that? Our bad. Like that they're never
Right.
gonna say, but in my experience, agencies are more likely to be like, we absolutely did, and how dare you? The fact that that didn't happen says they didn't.
Thank you.
And then I do just,
So-
I had the same procedural thing about the exec committee voting. I didn't know that was a thing, but I'm happy to vote in favor if that's something we can do.
Yeah, so Ed, I'm rereading the, I'm sorry, I know this came in late and I saw it just before the board meeting, and I'm rereading the therefore be it resolved clause. And it says, therefore be it resolved that Bronx Community Board 8 Executive Committee waives the 30-day notification requirement, and the board, I assume that's supposed to be has no objection, is in no objection, or has no objection to the renewal of the license for P&K Grill Inc. Two questions there. First of all, I don't know that we waive the 30-day notification. I think we would say something like we agree to waive the 30-day notification, but I'm more concerned by later in the clause where it says, and the board is in no objection, or as I.
We
think
can
would be
change
better.
that. Actually, Bob, to be honest, I wrote the resolution, and it was edited by staff, and I got this thing at the last second. So yes, that would not be my choice of words for the very end. We can make alterations to that. And I agree also, agrees to waive is better than waives, because we're not doing the waiving. The waiving would be
Right.
done by SLA.
Yeah, but my real concern with, and the board is in no objection or has no objections, that we're not speaking for the board, we're speaking for the executive committee. So that's what's important there. But let me go to Marty, because there is a procedural question here that I really do want to clarify. Marty, could you weigh in?
The issue that's latent to the last several months has been what authority the executive committee has. And the fact is, we have no authority and we don't vote. And to put it upon ourselves that we are the
Right.
supporters raises a
Right.
problem. Is there an issue, and maybe I missed it, I'm sorry, that if it waited until the 14th to go before the board and the board voted for this, would that create another handicapping condition?
It would create a crippling condition for the business, because as the resolution indicates, their liquor license expired the last day of February. So they, yes, it is a big deal.
So what can we?
Can we get SLA to grant a temporary extension?
Well, what do you mean by temporary?
Until the board votes.
Isn't
Yeah, I
that-
think- Can we try that? Can we try that, Ed? Can we go back to the SLA and say, look, that, the executive committee doesn't have the authority to do this, but the board will be meeting on the 14th of March. I mean, that's 2 weeks. Would the SLA agree to allow the extension for that period of time so that the board can vote on the 14th? I mean, frankly, I can't think of a reason why anybody is not going to vote to approve this thing. But I mean, this is the concern, that this is not something that is appropriate for the executive committee to vote on. And, we have our procedure to deal with, as well as the SLAs. Could you have that conversation with the SLA?
I was told by our staff today that the the person who we deal with at SLA specifically requested this language in the in the therefore be it resolved clause. That's what I was told.
You know, this is, look, I mean, you know, I'm aware of this establishment. I know it's been there for some time. If we need to, I have to think that either the assemblyman or our state senator would be willing to intervene to say, you know, please don't deny a license to this institution. All we're asking for is 2 weeks here. You know, I'm sure that Laura, myself, whoever it takes, would be very glad to get on the phone with Assemblyman Dinowitz's office, or I'm not sure, I think this may be Senator Jackson rather than Senator Rivera, get on the phone with their office and say, look, could you guys put in a phone call to the SLA and just ask them, you know, just waive this for 2 weeks. That's all we're asking for. If that's your concern, Ed.
Okay, so
You know, we have a real procedural problem here.
This is my biggest concern, procedure or no procedure. As, you know, Bronx Community Board 8, what can we do to help this business? I just want this resolved. What if we need to work out whatever procedure is the proper procedure to be able to help this business out, because I don't want to leave this meeting not being able to help this business out, and their business is going to suffer due to some letter of the law procedural thing, which admittedly is extremely important, but there's always exceptions, and we're talking about people's livelihoods. And, you know, the business has talked about, you know, if they're not able to get this done, they're going to have to cut staff. These are real problems.
No, I think, Ed, I think we're all in agreement about the importance of the issue. I don't think anybody's questioning that at all.
Right.
We just have to figure out, how do we do this? We're having this discussion for one purpose only, to figure out how do we help to make sure that they're in business for X period of time, so that, you know, we can do this in the right way. I see a couple of hands, but let me go back to Marty first. As I say, as our parliamentarian, I rely heavily on Marty's advice.
We have a dilemma here. I think my impression from the conversation is that we're all in favor of doing something affirmative, but I think our hands are tied.
Okay, Rosemary?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is not the first time we have come across issues like this, Bob. Okay? It's troublesome and it's very hard to do, but this is the way to address this issue. It is a letter to SLA that says, we got this request. We understand you need this, but these are the dates that we have, okay? We are not able to make those dates. Here's our schedule. And then comes the sentence. And for 3 years, I wrote this in letters. This is the fact that we are not able to respond in this timeline should not in any way reflect a positive or a negative impact on this business. We just have not had the ability, you have not given us the ability to do what we do as a community board. This is, it's not a simple letter. It's a letter that says what Ed wants to say. We are given this issue from you. We do not have the ability to meet your timeline, but we are not in it. The fact that we're not able to meet your timeline should in no way reflect at all on our support or not support for this business at all. It is exclusive. The fact that we haven't responded to you only has to do with your calendar and our calendar, okay? That it's a letter, a very, it's not a simple letter, but that takes care of us, okay? We can't do what we can't do. And by the way, you're giving the letter to government. The government entity is going to understand that if it is stated to them in exactly those terms. Our inaction, our inability to respond to you the way you want us to respond to you should have no impact and you should take no inference at all that we haven't responded, that we are against at all this business. And I think that's Ed's concern, that nothing we do or fail to do or meet a deadline would in any way hurt this business. And I think it, okay, again,
No, that's
sorry.
clear. Thank you, Rosemary. That's
Thank
clear.
you. Okay.
Julia?
Gotta unmute first. So thank you, Rosemary. That helps clarify how it was done in the past. I guess I'm wondering if there's a way to kind of split the baby of, I think it's been clarified that it's not, voting is not something that's normally done in this space. It doesn't, I don't know that it hasn't been done since I've been on exec, and I know that isn't, depending on who you talk to, not that long, but is there a way to say in the letter Rosemary's proposing, or the letter, you know, that we are unable to vote, but at exec, it was a positive discussion, or like a lot of people have individually said they support this, but we can't vote, indicating that we don't have a problem with it. We just can't do what you're asking, but that we are kind of, we do not anticipate any issues when we go to the full board, because that, I mean, it's not a vote, but it is accurately, or I don't know, send a copy of the minutes where there's all this discussion. If we could send them the minutes with the letter that, you know, overall, you know, without taking a vote, we all seem to support this. We just can't, it's not our place to vote on something in this space.
Yeah, I hear you, Julia.
I give up.
Here's what I would suggest, that I'll talk to Laura first thing in the morning. We need to get a letter off to SLA immediately, along the lines of what Rosemary said, indicating that we're not in a position to vote on this issue because we don't, our bylaws don't allow us to do that. And I think at the same time, we have got to get on the phone tomorrow morning with Assemblyman Dinowitz's office and State Senator Jackson's office, and make them aware of this situation, make them aware of the urgency of it, and ask them to contact the SLA, which is a state agency, and they are our state representatives, and to say, hold off, you know, this, we don't want to shut this place down. We don't want people to lose their jobs, et cetera. And this issue is going to be addressed, but it cannot be addressed overnight. It's going to take until the 14th. And then Ed would bring this resolution to the board on the 14th for a vote. But I think that is the only solution we have at the moment, because as we've discussed, we're not able, according to our own procedures, to vote on this issue tonight. But I understand the urgency of the situation. I think we all understand the urgency of the situation. We all want to do the right thing here. And I think that means, you know, we have to act tomorrow, but I think there's a way in which we can do this. So Ed, it might be helpful if you email the board office and CC Laura and me about who it is that you communicate with at the SLA, so that we can be sure that we're in touch with them tomorrow morning, as well as the state senator's office and the assemblyman's office.
Okay, and also, you know, Mike from SLA is our contact person over there, and of course we're going to write a letter, but I mean, we can call him tomorrow, and I just have a feeling that he's flexible on this. He just wanted some type of confirmation from us that we're willing to waive that 30-day notification, and my feeling is that he is going to be, you know, flexible on this as much as his agency will allow. But he's worked with us in the past, and it's like you said, we have to contact him first thing tomorrow morning, and I'll speak to Laura immediately, and we'll get on this, and that's, well, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think that's the best we can do, Ed. And I really do think that if you talk to him and we get the two state representatives offices to get involved, I've got to think that's going to satisfy the situation for the period of time that we need.
So I just want to say one thing also. I mean, given that the owner is here and he really can't speak because of the form we're in, what would be the most reasonable course of action for the business to take when, you know, in terms of immediate action for their business moving forward under this situation?
That's advice that I'm not in a position to give, Ed. I don't know
Fair enough.
what they can do about serving liquor when, technically their liquor license is expired. I would think that any authorization to serve liquor at this point, after February 28th, would have to come from somebody in the SLA who, sends them an email or something, some official document that says, your license is temporarily reinstated until X date, the date we're asking for, which will be the day after the board meeting on the 14th. But I'm not in a position to say, go ahead and serve liquor because I don't have the authority to do that.
Right.
Look, this is a very unfortunate situation. I understand it. And, we're going to do the very best we can to rectify the situation as quickly as we can. But, as quickly as we can, at best is going to mean tomorrow, at best.
So, Seth, if you're listening, and I know you are, I'm going to be on the phone with the board chair tomorrow morning at 7:15, 7 o'clock in the morning. We are going to call SLA, and I will be speaking with our contact person from SLA, and I'm going to try everything I can possibly do to make sure they don't turn the spigot off on you. So just stay in touch for further notice. I'm doing the best I can for you, man.
Yeah, we all want to do the right thing. I mean, there's, nobody's in disagreement. We just have to make sure we do the right thing in the right way. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Ed. That's the end of your resolutions, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're gonna be a busy man at the board meeting, Ed.
It feels that way.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Kelly, are you still with us? I know, Deb, I'm not seeing Kelly. I know she said she was going to have to step away at a certain point. So
Yeah,
why don't we
I-
go on to the Parks resolution?
Yep, I can speak to that. The first thing I want to say was that it says resolution in support of a pickleball court installation in Riverdale Park. It should say Riverdale Playground. That's why I had the document open on my desktop earlier. The Parks Department came in front of the committee a couple of weeks ago and presented their proposal for one pickleball court to be in the Riverdale Playground. And it will take, there's currently 4 handball courts, and this one pickleball court will take the place of 2 of those handball courts. It will be painted on the surface on top of them. So there'll be no new impermeable surface, and that there will still be 2 handball courts in Riverdale Playground. So I also see that therefore is missing an E, so I will fix that. Therefore, be it resolved that the Parks and Recreation Committee approves the plan for installing the pickleball court as presented to the committee, with the understanding that DPR will return to the committee for further discussion if there are any substantive alterations to the plan that was presented. It was approved unanimously.
All right, do we have any questions about the resolution? Rosemary? Rosemary, I see your hand. You're also muted.
Again, I was being a good girl and muting myself. Deb, at the meeting, at least one person, maybe two people raised the following issue. Okay, so there'll be what are going to be the I don't want to say rules, but like at a tennis court, you reserve the time. How is that going to be done? And I'm not sure the parks people were able to, and I forget that, but is that something that we should be concerned about in setting up the pickleball thing? Just a statement that that the Parks Department will have a protocol for blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? Do you
I know
remember?
what you mean. It was raised by a couple of folks. It's a good question. So the Parks Department has said that their courts all operate kind of where whoever's using the courts can set the rules among themselves. So the basketball courts, for example, if it's 2-on-2 or 3-on-3, or you play half court, those rules are all kind of established among the people who are playing. And so the Parks Department, when Alex asked this earlier, that was their response, was that when Alex or whomever is playing and using the pickleball courts, if other folks come, then they will need to establish what the rotation is like, and whether you may end up playing with people you don't know, or whether it's only people take the court when they're playing against people they do know. Regarding permits, so tennis.
No, I'm not asking about permits. It's just what's their protocol? Somebody comes up, is it going to be a fight? Okay, I understand. The Parks Department is going to do this like a basketball court. You show up, you'll figure it out. That's fine. That's fine with me. I remember the issue being raised. And if there were a protocol, it would be good to have it in the resolution, but there isn't. That's fine, Deb. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's a good question. The other question that I think I want to at least answer, because I think it's related, which is that in tennis courts you need to permit. You get a seasonal permit. With pickleball courts, the Parks Department is not requiring seasonal permits, so anybody can just walk up and play. So that's also a nice feature of the pickleball courts.
Good. Thank you. But I think it got raised at your meeting. It's important, not necessary for this resolution. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I don't see any other hands raised. So I think we're done with that resolution.
Okay.
And I think in Kelly's absence, that appears to cover all the resolutions, right?
Mhm.
All right, well, if Kelly returns to the meeting, yes. Well, I suppose at this point, we're moving on to committee member issues for discussion. So whether we consider this a resolution or a member issue for discussion is really a moot point right now. But Lisa, you're here?
Great, thanks. And Deb, if you can move down to the other document. Yeah, and I made a slight change, but that one's fine to deal with. Basically, I just wanted to share thoughts with everyone to plant a seed for restructuring our committees. I'm sure we all thought about some tweaks that we could make before, but I just want to put it out there for everyone. Basically, it's to increase engagement and sustain the engagement of community members and our board members. Just for the benefit of our neighbors. And it's sort of what we need now is really to focus on the well-being and social engagement issue. And so it's sort of a two-parter, one big one, one little one. It's to basically create a community engagement committee, which would be a standing committee. It would combine two standing committees, our aging and youth committees, who currently we both have missions to identify the needs of our age cohorts and to support the organizations that serve them. And they're often the same organization, just different parts of it. To also include the special committee on veteran services, that mission is to connect the veterans and their families to services, and also calls attention to their service to our country, and to consolidate all of our board processes that support and celebrate the volunteer efforts of, for people who volunteer to serve our community. So basically, that's the first one. It's a restructuring to combine a couple of committees to focus on supporting our community centers, whether aging or youth or any age group in between, to reach out and engage other groups in the community that support community life, and to promote volunteerism and community participation. So that's the first one. You can read. I try to put some words to it to make it clear. Right now we're starting to see some of our service awards being, different service awards, instead of having it under the umbrella of our community service award as a board. But, you know, like Parks has, and Parks doesn't have an annual thing, so that's what I just want to clarify. But Parks has put forward a recommendation every year for several years now for a CSA award. And I see us, you know, I mean, I didn't speak to Nick yet, but I see we could have a Betty Campbell Adams seat on the CSA, so they could recommend somebody as well. And other committees can as well recommend someone for the CSA or merchant. It doesn't have to be an entity. And Camelia, I'll come back to you. I'll just finish it all. But the other one is really just a name change. It's a branding. It's changing the name of Health Hospitals and Social Services to Community Health and Facilities. It's sexier, right? It's a better name than commas all around. It's, you know, it avoids having to apologize for calling it hospitals when we don't have any hospitals in our community, and just gives us the opportunity for just better outreach in the community. So anyway, that's it really. I did take a, you know, I don't want to take up too much time, Camelia, but I'll definitely come back to you. You know, I looked at some of the structures of other adjoining community boards, and I know many years ago there was a big, you know, project to look at all the community boards in the city. But you know, all of the boards seem to have the same old committees. You know, have youth with education, blah 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 blah. And you know, I just thought we should take a leadership role in this and not to be afraid to make an administrative change or a bylaw change when it makes sense and better serves the community. We're also stretched very thin, you know, for the first recommendation, you know, where we lose a lot of members and the committees are getting very thin. So anyway, this will help with sustainability of the committees and to really focus on the centers that do the work for our older adults and for youth and for veterans and so forth. And so the next step is really to, I just put it forward, I'm putting it out there to, for the committees who are affected to discuss the proposal. I plan to take it to aging. I believe Julia will take it to youth, and veterans will take it. I did have brief conversations with my fellow chairs. To you know, to look at unintended consequences. I mean, I see a possibility for aging, but you know, we'll discuss that and put it out there and see how the new committee, should it go forward, can prevent any negatives. Let's see. I did attach a very draft discussion only resolution just to put more words around it. Rather than just this picture that you see on the screen now. Basically, the committees will come back, provide feedback at an executive committee, and then to go to LRE for bylaws change, hopefully 2 votes, you know, or not 2 votes, however it turns out. I, you know, just wanted to get it out there. Thank you for listening. I know it's sort of against normal protocol to put this out. And I hope people will run with the proposal. This is my last executive committee meeting. I'm stepping off. So thank you guys. That's it. So Camelia, sorry,
Amelia, before you speak, I just want to say a couple of things and then I'll call on you right away. Okay, I'm sorry. First of all, Lisa, you're not reapplying for the board, correct?
Correct.
That was that little tidbit that you dropped at the end there.
Yeah.
And I think, and speaking for myself here, but I suspect for others as well, I'm sorry that you won't be reapplying, and I'm sorry that you won't continue on the board, because I think you've been a tremendous asset to this board, quite frankly, and particularly on the subject of aging. And I know you've chaired the aging committee on and off over the years, and I know you've been very diligent in chairing that committee. So I'm sorry to see you go. I really am. With regard to the proposal you put forward, it's funny, I was just sitting here looking at health hospitals and social services. And you mentioned, of course, that we don't have any hospitals in Community Board 8, but whether we do or we don't, the name of the committee does seem somewhat redundant, doesn't it? I mean, one would think that health and social services would include hospitals. You know, we don't necessarily have to single them out, but you know, in any case, you know, whether it's redundant or not, that's an irrelevant issue here. You know, you raised that. Look, I think this is a discussion worth having, and I'm glad you're bringing it up. Whether we agree to change anything or we don't agree to change anything, I think it's a good idea from time to time to look at the committee structure and ask, does it, you know, does it still make sense? Does it still work? You know, you did make a good observation, and I know many of us have noticed this, that some of the committees have only 3 or 4 members on them. And, you know, that creates all sorts of problems, the quorum issue being just one of them. So this is a discussion worth having, and I'm glad you're raising the point, Lisa. And so having said that, let me go on to the hands I see raised. Camelia?
Thank you so much, Bob. Lisa, thank you. I just want to, first of all, to say how sorry I am that you are leaving the exec, and just personally also seeing your positions in many meetings, how like you often kind of incline the balance, or so I think that you will be missed from the point of view. And also this brings the point that I wanted, 2 points I wanted to make. One, bravo for the courage of raising this, because indeed it is how to say, a little bit challenging. One thing that comes to mind is that in exec we will lose a couple of members if we combine some committees, but I do think that there's a lot of value in what you put forward as topic for discussion. Personally, I strongly agree with your point number 1 in terms of combining the 3G youth and veterans committee, calling it community engagement. And on point number 2, personally, I respectfully disagree with the name you suggest. I don't think we have anything to do with any facilities. I think we should call it health and social services, because it's health, but there are other social services organizations that complement health that are fully within our board, and you're discussing them often within the context of that committee. I would frankly go even further, but just as an exploratory, and combining the 4. But I think if we go to even the first step of the 3 of them combining, I think there's very solid points that you are making in terms of quorum, and in terms of the symbiosis, thematic sort of symbiosis of the 3. I think this is an excellent proposal, and personally I would support it. Yeah, with a further conversation on probably the names. But Lisa, again, I want to like honestly and sincerely congratulating you for putting this forward, even in your last like exec, to open it up. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right, I see Rosemary.
Oh, good, thank you. Lisa, bless you for raising an issue. I mean, for years, we haven't heard anything that will that would engage the community and engage community board members like this. This is a significant structural change to our board that is worth considering. Structurally, I do understand there are too few members in some of these committees. There are too few members to make a working committee out of each of them. So that's an interesting point, right? To combine them would make more robust work. I mean, to make a new committee, to have more members, a robust committee with more members, there's the potential for really doing good community work, community board work and community work. I do, just jumping ahead to some of my thoughts here, because I love this idea. How would this new structure if this were to happen, how would the new structure get more community board members involved? I think that would be a challenge and a good challenge to get community board members to say, I would join a community engagement committee. That, I mean, and again, I think that would be a challenge, but I think it's a good challenge and for community board members. But as important, and maybe more important, how would it engage our community, our community board, a community, into a new committee? That to me is the most exciting thing that you're proposing, that in presenting a new community structure with a new mission or a new right, that somehow the outside world, which by the way, I don't think we have done a good job engaging. The outside world, that's what we're about. We're about the community. We're not about ourselves, right? We're about the community. And what I really love about this proposal is the potential for reaching outside of us. I mean, can we get over ourselves and get into the community? How do we engage the community in the community board, in the work and the work of the committees and the city agencies? That's what when I looked at this, that was the thing that intrigued me the most, the potential for doing something like that. I don't want to say, I thank you. I thank you for doing this. This is exactly what we should be about, exactly what the community board should be about. Okay, now I have to say a final word. Bob Bender said a final word about you. We have lost a gem on this community board when we lose, when we lose Lisa Dow. This is the thing. Most people don't know. How would they know? I worked with this woman as chair of the board. She was the secretary. Nobody has any idea how many hours we spent working on things for this community. Every little, all the housing, the pamphlet, the senior pamphlet, the parks pamphlet, translating them all to Spanish and publishing them. All the events we did, all the putting on the website our procurement guidelines. This woman was front and center in doing all of it. Nobody is aware of this. Nobody is aware. I'm aware of it. Lisa, you were a gem on this community board, an unsung hero, and I want to sing your praises right now. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you terribly, and this board should really understand what they're losing when you leave us.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Okay, done.
Before I get verklempt.
Oh no! Oh my God, done. Sorry.
Lisa, do you mind if I call on Marty, or do you want?
No, that's fine. I just wanted to answer a question that came up before, but thank you. Yeah, Marty.
No, I'm sorry. You do want to answer a question that came up before?
Well, yeah, no, just to clarify the difference with health. A lot of boards put health at aging, and it's, hey, we're alive, we're active in the community, a lot, so it's sort of that combination promotes ageism, I have to say. But mostly the health committee is responsible for, supportive housing issues that come up in the community, responsible for RATS, which is a public health concern, responsible for holding meetings on the Patavan law when we have many different facilities clustered close together. And, thinking about that, that's why the facilities is there. And that might be too broad a scope for this community engagement committee. It just might stretch it too thin and water it down too much. But thank you, Camelia. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Sorry.
I think it's fair to say this is the beginning of a discussion, and,
Yeah.
just, again, thank you for bringing it up, and these are issues we're going to have to talk about. Marty?
Yeah, I support Lisa's having raised this. My concern at this moment is that she may have delimited the amount of discussion that could take place and how many committees should be expanded or contracted as discussion goes forward. So I think this conversation is valuable and should continue. I will note that as past chair, way back when, of the Health, Hospitals and Social Services Committee, we visited group homes, we visited nursing homes, we visited senior centers, we visited senior care facilities in general. And also, at the time I was chair, it was the start of North Central Bronx Hospital, which as it was created, Community Board 8 was given a seat or two on the original Community Advisory Board to that hospital. So we had interest in it. I was a member of that first committee on NCHB. So we had interest in all of these areas, even though we didn't have a hospital in Board 8 specifically. And finally, as I will repeat in my way, some of the things that have been said. I didn't want to raise this in words, but in establishing the protocols for hybrid meetings, it was Lisa who helped draw together the thinking in a more substantive way that ended up in the resolution we passed last month. So I have known Lisa to be extremely helpful in many, many ways, and will definitely miss her little voice in the back, either cheering us on or helping direct us.
Thank you, Marty.
So let me throw this question out. How do we best continue this discussion? What's the proper way to do this? I don't think we can take this up at every board meeting, or the board meetings will go on interminably.
Right.
But how do let's figure out a process by which we can continue a conversation about the makeup of the committees as they are now, whether committees should be combined, renamed, that sort of thing. And we don't have to answer that tonight, in the next 5 minutes, but let's all think about this and address this. You raised an important issue, Lisa, as everybody who has spoken has said. And I think we should continue this conversation, and we just have to figure out what is the best way to do this as we move forward. If anybody has a brilliant idea right now, I'd certainly like to hear it, but otherwise let's make sure we do continue this.
Thanks.
Ed. Yes.
I'm just going to briefly say that I think it should start in the committee. So all these committees that are being proposed to be broken down into 1 or 2 committees, why don't these committees discuss it amongst themselves first and see if they're actually for this idea? That would be some place to start anyway. Because as this is proposed, I don't know if anybody from these committees is actually in favor of doing that. I think that's a good place to start, but that's my 2 cents.
Thanks. And I did speak just to Julia and to Sergio and Omar, and I just missed each other to have a quick conversation, but I think we all plan to bring it back to our committees as the first step.
Okay, Camelia?
Yeah, mean, just how to say, having been through a sort of challenge to bylaws situation earlier in the year, I mean, my simple thing as far as procedure would be, of course, Lisa is absolutely free to take it to the 3 committees that would be combined and the change of name for the other. But she's the author, right? Like of the idea and of the proposal, and almost irrespectively of the opinion of the committees is law, rules, and ethics that would be the one bringing forward to full board, endorsing or not endorsing, and then full board would vote if Lisa brings it to full board with or without endorsement of LRE. And also, just to be absolutely clear and transparent, I mean, aging youth and veterans, I mean, they may even be opposed, right? Like they want to keep their entity separate, but then it's full board to make the decision. This is the beauty of democracy. If a majority of us believe the proposal has merits, the proposal passes, and it has to pass in 2 full board meetings for amendment to bylaws to take place. But I believe that Lisa is sort of the leader and the author of the course of this as she best kind of considers suitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Camelia. I mean, just to clarify, I am aware that this does have to go to LRE and it does have to go before the board for a couple of votes. That really wasn't the question I was raising. It's just the question of, you know, what's the best way to proceed? And I'm hearing, let's go back to the individual committees, but there are some other hands up. Marty?
You're muted.
As I said before, Lisa opened this discussion and identified these committees. These may not be the only committees worth talking about. And so I think step 1 is for each of the chairs to go back to their committees with the objective, as Lisa has raised, is this committee functioning as well as it can? Should it expand or contract? Do we have enough members? That's a committee level. And then it should all come back to the executive committee with its chairs. We should be able to share what information they can bring forth in terms of direction we should be going. It's going to take more than 1 meeting, more than 1 time. We may have to have Lisa come back as a guest speaker at numerous meetings. But I think us, the chairs and the committees ought to be discussing this and adding depth and width to the conversation.
Okay, thank you, Marty. Rosemary?
Good, thank you. Just a piece of history, that the last time let's see, the study of and the suggestion and recommendations for making such changes in the committee structure of this board went, and Bob, you were on the board, it was the Treeback Committee. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. It was, but so you asked, how can this be done? That is one that's one model. That was done. It was done, the report was extensive. I still have it. I read it. I wasn't on the board when it was done, but it was an impressive examination of the committees of the board. But that was more expansive than what Lisa is pointing out, a particular set of issues now to be addressed with. But how can this be done? It could be done a Treeback model or a mini Treeback model. But it seems to me that there needs to be some committee or special committee to examine all of the issues. Now, maybe the leadership of this board wants to make it excuse me when I say that, a Treeback committee, like a full-blown look at all of the issues, or a smaller mini one looking at just what has been proposed tonight. Either one, again, it's up to the leadership of this board. What does the leadership of the board want to do? They want to do this, or they want to do something bigger. But the model is there, Bob. The model is already there to have a committee look at it, do a report, do research, do a report, and report back to the executive committee and the board what their recommendations are. The model is already there. We don't have to recreate a model. It's just a matter of what the leadership of this board wants to do, a mini or a big, or whatever. Okay, you understand what I mean? Does
Sure,
that make?
absolutely, Rosemary. You
Thank
know,
you.
that's one approach. Yep. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Julia?
Yeah, just because it's been brought up a couple of times for clarity, when you talk about the youth committee and the veterans committee, I think Sergio and I make up the majority of both committees. And when we discussed this informally, we both thought it was a good idea. So for everyone's idea of support, Sergio and I are quorum on the youth committee. I do want to bring Leona into it, but I don't anticipate there being heavy opposition to this, especially because, as not shocking to anyone on this call, the first youth committee meeting under my leadership was me sitting alone in a community room. So just for transparency, I do not, Sergio and I are both aware, we are both individually in favor. We are planning on bringing it to going on my agenda this month.
Thank you, Julia. I mean, there does seem to be consensus here that the very first step is each of the chairs going back to their committees and raising the issue, you know, with a particular concern for those committees, as you said, Julia, that have a very small membership. But, you know, and then there are, you know, larger ways to handle this looming in the future. But for now, you know, we encourage each of the committee chairs to raise the issue of how their committees are operating and the question of whether they feel that their committee might be satisfactorily combined with another committee and whether it might be more efficient. So, all right, so we have a plan at least for the near future.
Can I just want to say one thing, so I can't raise my hand. It's maybe just propose a joint committee for the three committees to discuss it all in one room. Especially if the committees are very small, it might be a way to kind of more efficiently have this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's up to Lisa and the other two chairs, but that might be a good way to kind of do a little test run on what it would be like to be a one committee.
Yeah. All right. Well, at the moment, it sounds like youth and veterans affairs are ready to move forward.
Yeah, and I point out that it's not an older adult or aging, comma, youth, comma, veterans, comma, awards committee. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a community engagement committee that focuses on the organizations that serve all of the populations besides aging, besides youth. What about everyone in between, right? Neighborhood house, lots of programs for people of all ages. It's an outreach, it's an engagement committee. It is, but we have to still be sure that aging is focused on, youth is focused on, but it will because we're focusing on supporting the centers that also support these age cohorts. That's it. I just wanted to, you know, let's think without the commas all the time, but think more, what's the need? What's the, you know, the concept we're going for? Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks again, Lisa. Rosemary, I can't tell, is your hand up from before or?
Yes, no, just one last thought. I so firmly believe that this is not an issue where two people get in a room and make decisions. That is not what this is. This is structural to the community board. Therefore, it is a leadership issue. The chair of the board, the vice chair of the board, you have to decide how this issue will be addressed, and not two people in committees going to a room and decide, oh, we're okay with this. That is not the way we make decisions on structural issues in this board. Please, God, let this board be a board again, okay? Please let the leadership of this board make the decision how this goes forward, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. I think I can speak for Laura and myself and say we will proceed thoughtfully and carefully.
Right.
So
And could I
thank
also
you.
And just one quick thing, we have elections coming up. There's going to be turnover of board members soon. So it is a time of transition and a funky time to put in a major change like this. But, you know, it's business as usual for now. And, but hopefully everyone that sees it will try to carry it forward as we go through sort of a change of everything right now on the board.
Mhm.
Yeah, anyway,
Okay.
that's it. Thank you. Thanks for,
Thanks
yeah.
again, Lisa. And again, as everybody said, we're sorry to see you go. We really are.
Mm.
All right, I see that we have Kelly here, so we can go back to the TNT resolutions. Kelly?
Sure. Hi, thank you, everyone, and thank you for accommodating me. Bob, and I apologize, but I needed to take care of some personal business.
I understand.
So first on the screen, we have two resolutions, sets of resolutions to for the committee. The first is the street renaming of it'll be around 251st Street and Broadway and naming it on behalf in honor of Betty Campbell Adams and Lloyd Adams, the proprietors of Lloyd's Carrot Cake Bakery. It was presented, there was no objection from anyone in the committee. The community was favorable, was in favor of it, as was Council Member Dinowitz did send in a note to the office that he supported the proposal. I will note that David Gelman did provide 2 friendly amendments to the resolution, and it's the first one is in the 6th whereas clause, where it reads, has benefited a cross-section of Bronx Community Board number 8, that David suggested we change that to District Board 8, and I'm okay with that. The other friendly amendment was in the next whereas clause, and it reads, this location has a specific connection to Betty Adams, and he suggested that I include her full name, which is Betty Campbell Adams. And that's
Okay.
that resolution.
It seems clear enough. I actually wanted to suggest something, and it's in the 6th clause as well.
Okay.
Our most valuable merchant award is named after Betty Campbell Adams. I think that might be worth including as an indication of how highly valued she is by the community board, or she was, I should say, by the community board.
Okay.
So how about if we include that along with the other reasons we cite for why she and her late husband were both deserving of this renaming?
I have no objection to that, and I thank you for pointing that out.
Okay. Are
Is anyone-
there questions or comments from anyone? Okay, so if I remember correctly, I think the renaming has to go before
Correct.
the
It
board
has to
twice.
twice. It will be presented at the March and the April meetings.
Okay. All right, very good.
Okay, the next set of resolutions, and I noticed a typo in the title, and that should read April 2nd, 2023, not May 22nd. But in any event, again, this is a request of the Riverdale Y to host their one-time pop-up farmers market. It was presented, there were no objections from the community or any member of the committee, and I open the floor to any friendly amendments or any questions regarding the presentation.
Kelly, not an amendment, but my recollection is that this was done before the pandemic, that we have in the past actually had exactly this event in exactly this location. I remember attending it some years ago. I couldn't tell you what year it was, and I don't recall how often it was done, but I know it was done in the past.
It was actually also done last year.
Oh, okay.
So
I
this is the
think,
kickoff of their farmers market season. I think they used that location.
Mhm.
They like that location.
well, I think it's worth mentioning then that the event has taken place in the past and that there have been no problems with the event on those occasions.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, I leave it to you to figure out the wording, but I think it's always worth mentioning when, whenever we're dealing with a SAPO application, that the event has happened in prior years and everything was satisfactory.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Bob.
Sure. Again, I don't see any hands raised.
Okay.
So I believe that's all of the resolutions that we had. And so we return again to the last item on the agenda, which is follow up on outstanding issues. Does anybody have anything that they want to raise? Rosemary.
My God, I unmuted myself. Thank you. It's always so bad to be left to the end of the agenda because people are tired. But my issue, I think, is interesting. Maybe people are not aware of it. With the new change on our website, when one wants to research agendas and minutes of the board or committees, it no longer allows us to go past 2007. It cuts us off. One cannot go back in history beyond 2007. Please understand that before we went all the way back to whenever the information was there. I think this is whatever. I think it's a mistake. And my question is, if one wants to get the information earlier than 2007, where do we go? I think that's an important issue, not only for community board members, for the community at large. Where does one go to get the minutes, the agenda for every committee and every board meeting earlier than 2007? It always existed on our website. It is no longer there. Where is it? How do we get to it? Maybe, I'm sorry, maybe I'm asking the question and I don't deserve an answer right now. I understand that, but please understand, this is an important issue for history, for everything. So the new system only goes back to 2007. Prior to that, we were able to, on the old website, right? We're able to go back to the beginning of the community boards. Where is all that information? Should it not be on our website? If they say no, then I say, how can the public access that information? Does that make
The question is very clear. The question is very clear, Rosemary.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
We'll find the answer to it.
Okay.
Lisa.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm surprised that there wasn't an archive button to click on older things. And, there's a requirement for us. I remember when I was secretary to, for holding, that's why we have so many file cabinets that are old papers. But, we're going to actually try to digitize everything so that it is acceptable. I know I went back, way back, researching stuff. And so I'm surprised. So there definitely needs to be a way to access this just from a responsibility. I mean, if it's not open to the public, which is better, but if not, it has to be an easy way to get to these files and old minutes and votes and resolutions, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so some procedure where that information can be accessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, well, I mean, so that's the question and we'll find the answer.
Hmm.
Okay. Do we have any other questions, any other outstanding issues? All right,
Bob, one thing, there was one more document in the packet,
oh, is that right?
resolution to change bylaws. Oh, I see, that's the resolution that accompanies the other piece. I got it, never mind.
Yeah, that was
Make sure we
part of
covered everything.
Lisa's. Right, okay,
Informational, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, very good.
all right. We were that close to a clean getaway and it looks like we're going to make it. So, all right, no other business before us, then could somebody make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, we are adjourned.
Thank
Thank you.
Everybody have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Lisa, for all your
Thank
hard
you.
work.
Yeah.
Good night.
Bye.